Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Caldwell, and I'm really looking forward to my first Facebook Live. And thanks for joining me today. We're going to have some fun. Hopefully, we're going to learn a few things, and we'll enjoy ourselves. So, as we're waiting here to get started, I want you to do a couple of things for me. If you would, look under the post there and hit that share button. Tell everybody that we're live now. If you'd share, I'd really appreciate that. And as we go through today, if you're having fun, if you like what we're doing, don't just hit the like button. There's a love button down there. And you know what? I could use a little love today, so I would appreciate that. And just hit that little love button if you have fun, you feel like you're learning some things, you hopefully will join us every time we do this. So. My intent is to do this very frequently. I'm going to try to do it every Friday. If this goes well, we'll do that. And we're going to talk about different leadership topics as we go through. So thank you for joining me. I'm going to kind of look on my phone. I've got it here, and as people come in, I want to try to look and see if I can tell who's actually attending. And if I don't see your name, I'm sorry. Sometimes on Facebook it's hard to tell exactly who's actually looking right now on the program itself. So just wanted you to be aware of that. All right. So, by the way, as well, I want you to know that I do intend to answer any questions later today. You can use that in the comments section. So feel free to let me know what questions you might have, and then we can kind of go from there. So, all right. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and get started and introduce myself a little bit to you, and then we'll start with our training. Now, as I said, I'm Steve Caldwell, and I am the creator of Manager Mojo. And as a matter of fact, here's the reason why I called it Manager Mojo. Manager Mojo, be the leader others want to follow. This is my book. I hope you've picked up a copy of it. You can easily get a copy of it at managermojo.com or at Amazon. Let me just say that for me, I called myself the manager from hell. And, you know, I just started out really not understanding what it meant to be a great leader. And it caused me a lot of problems early in my career, but I finally figured it out. And today, I'm not only CEO of Manager Mojo, I'm also CEO of Predictive People Analytics. And we do behavioral analysis for corporations, and we help them figure out how to put the right people in the right job. Now, for me, though, it's really personal. I want people to be successful. And when I think back of whenever I started in management, there were mistakes that I made that I want to share with you. And in addition to that, we're not just going to talk about the mistakes. We're going to talk about things that you can do to prevent mistakes and things that you can do to be successful. In addition, I want to talk about ways that you can get additional training, additional education, so that you don't have to put your career in jeopardy like I did. And that's going to be my gift to you, is that I want you to really understand how to be a great leader. Now, I'm going to start today by just asking you a question. Do you know what happened today? Do you know what happened? Well, that's going to be one of the questions that we're going to answer as we go through our training today. But the first thing that I want to start with is that why did I really start out being the manager from hell? What was the problem? Why did I do that? You know, I'll bet that I was no different than many of you. You actually were successful as an individual contributor. You got to work early, you worked late, you were really focused. You wanted to achieve your goals, and you did achieve your goals. And because you had such a great attitude, it was easy for those in leadership positions to look at you and say, you know, this person really deserves a chance to lead other people. If they can be as productive as they are individually, why shouldn't we go ahead and promote them and let other people work from them and learn from them so that they will be successful? And so nearly all of us wind up getting into a management or leadership position because we were a star performer. We were a person that the company could depend on. And when you are that kind of person that you can depend on, you're going to get opportunities. The problem, though, is that when you start having people work for you, the world changes completely. It's no longer about you and your performance. It's about their performance, and it's about your leadership. And it's really a completely different job than what it was whenever you were the person doing the work. And we usually all get promoted the same way. I know this happened to me, and I just want to know if it happened to you. You get recognized and you say, congratulations, we're going to promote you to lead this team of people. And they gave me a nice little pat on the back, and they shook my hand and said, good luck, Steve. You know, I know that you're the person that's going to make this team a success. And that was about all of the coaching that I got. And it was like, wait a minute. Now, isn't there some instruction manual that comes with this leadership position, this management position? And of course, there was none. There was also little to no training. And I'll bet that you guys had similar to me in that I honestly, in my first management position, I did not have not one one-on-one coaching session with my boss ever. Not one. And so it was like, okay, good luck, here you go. And I got to share this with you because I'll bet you guys have had some of this. I managed people remotely as well. They weren't all in the same office that I was. And unfortunately for me, one of the first things I had to do was that I went to meet my people in these different offices. And my boss went with me to one of the offices. And I thought, well, okay, that's kind of strange, but I'm okay with that, so we're going to go. Well, on the way to that location, my boss told me that, yeah, we're going to go meet this individual. You got a couple of people that work in this office, but your job once you get there is that you're going to suspend this person for 3 days without pay. Now, here's the first time that one of my direct reports is going to meet me. I'm going to say, hi, I'm Steve. I'm your new manager. And, oh, by the way, I'm suspending you 3 days without pay. Now, can you imagine? I mean, that's just not going to be a fun environment. And so I got no real explanation other than, okay, there were some irregularities, there were some things that we had to deal with. And I understood the reason that we were going to do it, but you know, it wasn't just a regular employee. This person actually was a part of a union. So I'm a manager, I'm a brand new manager, I've never met this individual, and he's a member of the local union. And oh, by the way, he also happened to be the steward of that particular union, and he was one of these guys that, you know, he had power, or at least he thought he had power with the union. And so he was going to make my life miserable. And, you know, when we look at trying to deal with difficult situations, we've had no training, no instruction, we're flying by the seat of our pants, and that may not work very well. So you see, when you go into management and you go into leadership, why do you do it in the first place? Most people don't go into management because they said, you know what, I just want to really be able to tell everybody what to do. That's not what you went into management for. What you went into management for is because you want a whole career. You want to make money. You want to make more money than you could make as an individual contributor. Otherwise, what's the point in going into management and leadership positions? It's really important for us to understand that a management career is something that's a step by step by step process that we have to be successful at every step in order to move to that next level. Now, I want to share with you, you may not be aware how much money is at stake for you in your management and leadership career. The statistics show us that an individual that has a successful management career, meaning they start in management and they stay in management, even if it's a first level management position, those individuals are going to earn a minimum of $1 million more money in their lifetime than a non-management worker. That's a lot of money in your life. That's a lot of money for your family. It's a lot of money for you to be able to live the life that you want to live. And I want you to know that that number, that $1 million in a career, is really just the tip of the iceberg. And the reason it is because if you are successful in your first position, so you're in your first management position, you do a great job and you move to the next level, then you're going to get promotions and you're going to make more money. And as you get up levels and you go into these higher levels of a leadership position, the money can be very, very, very nice for you and your family. And that 1 million could easily turn into 2 or 3 or even more millions in your career. As a matter of fact, if you go to be a CEO, you could have as much as $5 to $7 million more in your lifetime for you and your family than you would if you just said, okay, I'm just going to be an individual contributor. There's nothing wrong with being a great individual contributor, but you know what? Sometimes you need to be able to say, what am I going to do for my career and my family? So because this is a live event, I want to make sure that all of you understand. I want to thank you for being here today. And I'm going to stop in just a minute. I'm going to tell you what happened today. And we'll start with our first real thing that I want to make sure you take away and that you know, because it's not just about money. So let me look at my phone and just see some people. I want to welcome Priya Priya Brada to the broadcast today. Thanks for joining me. I know many others are here. And I remind you, share this broadcast so that other people will know we're live. And please use that not just like button, but give me a little bit of love. Use that love emotion if you're having fun. So as we talk, let's talk about what happened today. Here's what happened today. If you're a manager every day, here's what happens to you. 8 out of 10 of your direct reports, they walk into the office and they've got one goal all day. That goal for those 8 out of 10 of your direct reports is to avoid you, their manager, as much as possible, as long as possible, with the idea that they hope they can avoid you until the end of the day and they can go back home. Now, you might think, well, is that really true? I'll challenge you. All you've got to do is go outside the building or the office where you work, and I want you to watch your people walk in the door. Get where they can't see you. Go where you can just observe. And what you're going to observe is that people are going to walk in. Are they going to walk in singing? Are they going to walk in smiling? You're going to find out that a lot of people are walking into that office and they have a lot of stuff on their back. In other words, they're bringing baggage in with them to the office. And their goal is not really to be productive. Their goal is to say, okay, I got to be here because I'm here for the paycheck. Now, what am I going to do in order to avoid my boss? The number one reason why people leave and quit a company is because they just simply don't want to work for that particular manager anymore. And I know this. I know it very personally. I was there. In my first management job, it was really tough, and I was tough. I really was the manager from hell. I did not really appreciate other people. Now, here was the flaw in my thinking, and maybe you have this flaw, and I want to make sure you correct it. The flaw in my thinking was very simple. I thought that everybody thought like I did. That's right. I thought they all thought like I did. You see, what did that mean? It meant that I thought they all wanted to come to work today with the idea that they wanted to achieve something, that they wanted to meet their goals. I thought that everybody that came to work today actually wanted to make more money. I thought that everybody that came to work today wanted to eventually learn enough about the business that they would be promoted. I thought that everybody valued our customers the way that I thought I valued a customer. And I quickly found that that was not the case. I quickly discovered that people had issues. In other words, life happens. And so when they came to work, they weren't really as engaged with the job and the things that needed to be done that we needed to do in order to be successful. And it was really kind of eye-opening to me because it was a gradual process, because I really thought that everybody was as ambitious as I was. And I quickly understood it. I actually learned from observing one of my fellow employees. This is how I really learned this lesson, and I thought, oh my gosh, people are not like me, because I'm okay with. I knew I had a job to do, and I didn't have any problem with my boss walking in at any time and talking to me. I was okay with that. But one of my friends, actually, true story, that he would look, and if he saw the boss coming down the aisleway or the hallway, he would immediately get up, leave his desk, and go to the restroom. He was trying to go to the restroom, and he would sit in the restroom until he thought, okay, the coast is clear and I can go back out. So he was avoiding our boss. And I kind of got that because our boss was not a touchy-feely guy and was kind of the way that I was, and they told everybody what to do. And you see, those are mistakes that we make all the time. So what really is our job? What do we really have to do? When we're in leadership, what we have to understand that our job is no longer to do the job. Our job now becomes to motivate and communicate with our people so that they will want to do the job, and that not only will they want to do the job, but they'll want to do the job well. And that requires a personal skill that really most of us just struggle with, because when we're individual contributors, we're depending upon our own smarts, our own drive, our own ambition, and we motivate ourselves. And it's really interesting to me at how many leaders that I talk to, and they will tell me that they don't believe in motivation because they believe all motivation is internal. So they believe you cannot motivate other people. But the research shows a completely different thing. The research shows that our brains are wired in such a way that we want encouragement. We want people that we care about or we believe have power over us to be able to communicate in such a way that they encourage us to do better. And that requires communication skills, it requires people skills, and it requires us to understand our real job in management. But yet so few people really even think about, well, how could I communicate with people who are not like me, who don't think like me, who don't have the goals that I do in my life? And so they struggle mightily with their job. And so what do they wind up doing? They take the easy way out. In other words, they use the power of their position. They say, okay, I'm the boss, and here's what'll happen. Let's say that you've got an employee and you have given them a deadline and you believe in your mind that you've given them all of the instructions that they need, you've been clear in what you want them to do, and so you ask them, okay, time's up, give me the results for the project that you got. And they come back to you and they say, well, I'm not through with it because, hey, I need you to tell me what you think about this. Now, at that point, what often happens is that the manager is really ticked off. And I get it. You're ticked because, okay, this should have already been done, and it hasn't been done, so now what are we going to do? And so the boss syndrome kicks in. And so the boss syndrome kicks in and says, okay, but you could have come to me earlier. I told you if you had any questions, come to me, email me, call me, let me know what your questions are, and we'll get that handled. And the employee will look right back at you and they'll tell you, yeah, but boss, you've been in meetings nonstop, and I tried to bring it up to you and you said, hey, I got to go run off to this meeting. Can we talk about this later? And I didn't get a chance to get that done. And so now the time's up, and so what do you want me to do? And so the boss syndrome kicks in because you are now no longer in charge of your emotions, and anger comes in, and you get angry and you resort, well, if you don't get this done by, let me see, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, there's going to be problems. And you start into the threat mode. Now, where does that come from? It comes from really the way that we all really start our lives when we're really 2-year-olds, and we're testing our mom and dad, and we push their buttons, and we learn how to push other people's buttons. And just think back, maybe you had perfect parents, but I'll bet you that either you as a parent or you had parents that got frustrated with you and they used the old statement, well, now do it because I said so. And it's that I said so mentality that we've heard many times in our early life. And when we don't really have to think about that when we're an individual contributor and we're a star performer. Because if you're a star performer, nobody's telling you that stuff. You're doing it on your own. But now you're in charge of other people, and what are you going to do now? Because those individuals are now looking to you for leadership and guidance. And so when we lose our temper and we lose our ability to communicate effectively, then what's happened is that we lose our credibility and we resort back to the boss syndrome. That's the big one for me. I had a hard time understanding how could I avoid that. So how do you overcome that? How do you change it? Well, the first thing that you've got to do is recognize that emotion is what got you promoted, and you need to be a person of conviction and emotion and quality. You got to recognize that as a strength within you. But how do you convey that to other people? How do you actually get them to understand your passion and that they'll respond to it in such a way that they will get their job done? Well, the way you do that is that you have to get involved with them and anticipate what every step of the way what needs to be done, and you need to clearly explain the path, not in a logical, okay, here's a task list, all right, here's your task list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that doesn't work. What you've got to do is explain the outcome of good performance, good work, so that your employee can celebrate when they do it well. If they do understand that picture of what it's going to look like when it's done at the end, and they know there's going to be encouragement from you, their boss, their leader, their manager at the end of it, there is a much higher likelihood that they're going to be successful along the way. And if you don't believe me, I want you to just look at what your star performers are doing right now. I hope you've got at least 1 or 2 on your team. But maybe you inherited a team that was dysfunctional like I did. And if you inherited a team that was dysfunctional, your job is not to bring more dysfunction to it. And unfortunately, that's what I did at first. But I quickly began to realize I needed help. I needed to figure out how could I get better. And so I started really looking and trying to figure out how I could get better on my own. And I asked other people, but here was maybe you got this. This still bugs me to this day, and it's why I'm having this live training today. Have you ever gone to your manager or you gone to one of your teammates and you said, I got this problem with so-and-so and I've done this and I've done that. What else do you do? And they look at you and say, well, I don't really know. Here's what I did, but it didn't work for me. And maybe the only thing you can do is either work around them or fire them. That's no help. And so we wind up really kind of saying, look, I cannot be viewed internally in my company as being unsuccessful. The second mistake that you've got is that people really quickly in management and leadership positions, all of a sudden, once they've got that authority and their peer group is no longer the people that are doing the job, but the people that are managing others. And they look and they say, okay, well, if I'm going to move to another level, my competition is these other managers, these other leaders. And you know what they start doing? I bet you do. They start playing politics. And the political thought process of, okay, I'm going to suck up to the boss, or I'm going to just look out for my team and myself. That will cause you so many problems. You can't be that. You got to be above that. So it's really difficult for people in management and leadership to really go and get answers to questions because there's that political problem that's going on. So I want to share with you one just really quickly here. Because of my passion for this, we've been working on our team to really find a way that we could provide that type of real leadership training and support and coaching for people, and we created it in our program that I call LEAD. And I'm going to show you a picture of it here, and you can easily go and check out LEAD yourself. But LEAD was set up, leadership, education, and development is what it's about. Now, in this site, what I've done is I've created courses that help you learn how to communicate with people, how to coach people. We've got a number of different courses that are built within this site. We have a community within the site. We have access where, for those of you that really, you know what, your careers may be in trouble and you need a one-on-one coach. And yet you don't know where to go because you can't go inside your company. Your boss is not really coaching you. Your boss is ordering you and saying, if you don't correct this, I'm going to have to let you go. And we created LEAD so that you would have a place that you could go and learn on your own. And because of my passion for this, it really bugged me that courses, management courses, leadership courses, I challenge you, go look yourself online. You'll find that the majority of courses are going to cost you, if you bought them yourself, $2,000 at a minimum. And that bugged the heck out of me because, look, if you're a starting manager, and even if you're a mid-level manager, you can't afford to pay $2,000 for every course and do 10 courses. And I mean, you're looking at 20 grand and you're still not through. There's no continual education because we have issues that need continually addressed and updated. And so I said, okay, my gift to the world is that we're going to provide a different way. So if you go to LEAD, go to lead.managermojo.com. You can join for just $1, okay? $1, and then it's $10 a month. and you will have access to leadership training. You'll have easy access to get one-on-one training if you want it. You can send us emails. You can look at all of the great content that we have. Now, here, in addition to this, you have access to world thought leaders, because for almost 3 years, I've interviewed world thought leaders for my podcast, and we have consolidated that information by topic inside LEAD to make it easy for you to be able to research whatever topic that you're having trouble with. So if you're having trouble with how to manage a millennial, for example, we have articles, we have courses, we have things that you can look at in there that you'll have access to and you can use. Maybe you're a manager and you need something inspirational to put in an email, maybe a little a graphic of some type that you wanted to inspire people with. We have indexed a number of graphics inside our site that would allow you to be able to download those and share it within your emails or newsletters that you're doing for your team. So I want you to check it out. You can check it out for 14 days for $1 and then join for $10. I promise you it'll be the best money you ever spent. And if you don't do that, at least make sure you go get Manager Mojo from Amazon or from our site, because that would help give you tips on all of the mistakes that I made, but it'll also give you some ideas on some things that you can do yourself. So go check out lead.managermojo.com today. Now, I want to continue with talking about various leadership topics, and I'm just going to leave this up here. If you want to go check out LEAD, it'll make it easy for you to see that URL. But here's the question that I want to ask you. Remember, I talked about that your leadership and management career is going to be worth a minimum of $1 million to you in your lifetime. Well, my question is, are you willing to trust your future, your career, to the effectiveness in leading and teaching of your boss? Now, I don't know about you, but I quickly understood that my boss was having the same struggles that I was, and they couldn't teach me. As a matter of fact, here was what I discovered is really one of the biggest mistakes and one of the biggest problems that managers and leaders have today. And that is that their people don't believe that their manager cares anything at all about them individually. In other words, they don't know anything about them. They don't know what's going on in their life. They don't ask questions about their life. And we've almost become this world that says, okay, you're at work now, and you need to be this type of person at work. And I don't care if you've got a life outside of work. I don't want to know it. I'm not concerned about that. That's not my job. My job is to make sure you get your work done. And it's this attitude that drives people insane. They literally can't stand you, because when you don't care about them, then they don't care about you. And it's a real simple process. But here's the excuse that I get from managers and leaders all the time. They say, well, you know, I really don't want to know a whole lot about them, because then they use it as an excuse for not doing their work. And nothing could be further from the truth than that. The reality is that most people, when they get a job, they didn't sell you on hiring them just because they wanted to be a slug at work. What they wanted was somebody to inspire them to be better than what they are. They wanted to learn about your business. They wanted to be a part of the business. They wanted to be a part of your life. They wanted to be a part of your team. But when you don't get personal, meaning, and I'm not talking about dating or any of that stupid stuff. I'm talking about asking them questions. Know if they're married. Know if they have children. Know what's happening in their world, because it gives you insight into what really motivates them. I need to know what people are passionate about. It would help to know what they're passionate about, because then I could talk with them about things that interest them. It reminds me of one of the people that worked for me in the past. This lady, I was her new boss, her new manager, and she was one of the few people. This was back whenever we didn't have as many remote employees then as we do today. She worked remotely, and one of the things that bugged her the most was that she thought, as a new manager, what I was going to do is force her to come back into the office. Well, I didn't know she thought that. I had no idea she thought that. But one of the things that I had learned to do, and I think if you'll do this one thing, it'll help you an awful lot, is to sit down with every person on your team in a one-on-one, but not just do a one-on-one about work. I did a one-on-one about life. And I asked every person on my team, what is the most important thing to you? What's going on in your life? Why are you here? Why did you want to work in this job? And we started having those conversations, and I began to realize that when I asked good questions, people shared good information. I found out that this individual really needed to make some money, and they needed to make a specific amount of money, and they were working really hard to make that a particular amount of money. And I said, okay, I understand everybody wants to make more money, but what's the reason? What's motivating you? What's driving you in order to want that specific number, that specific amount of money that you need to make? And this individual looked at me and said, are you sure? Do you really want to know that? I said, yeah, I really want to know what's driving you. What's your purpose behind the money? And she shared with me that she'd had recently had a new baby. I knew that because she'd been out on maternity leave. But she said the new baby had made her think, you know, what I really want to do is that I want to work and make enough money in the next year, 2 years, so that I could actually take some time off from work for 5 or 6 years, maybe not, but I'd like to take some time off of work so that I could stay home with my child during their formative years, so that I would get to spend more time with them before they went to school. Now, that example really got me to thinking. I'm like, okay, cool. And here's what I really said. I said, you know, what we need to do is figure out how we can make that happen faster. That's a great goal. That's a great thing for you to do. And so she looked at me and she said, wait a minute, you're going to help me figure out a way that I can make the money I need to make faster so I can quit? And I said, of course. Because that's what you want to do, and that's what will drive you, and that's what will make you happy. And so we figured out a way that she could do that, and she absolutely killed her numbers. She did exactly what she wanted to do, and she did, in fact, resign and went home for a while. But was that a bad thing? I know some of you are probably thinking, well, that sounds stupid. You just managed somebody right out of the business. Well, while she was there, do you realize that she doubled her production? So all of a sudden, I've got somebody on my team that's no longer just a star. She is a superstar because she is performing at twice the level she was performing at before. And not only that, we got somebody that was a great friend to the company. You see, what we've got to do is understand that life happens for all of us. And as a leader, it helps if you understand by asking questions. So don't make the mistake of assuming you know things about people. Ask them. Have that conversation. All right. So we've talked about a couple of things already. We've talked about, I can't just order people around. They don't think like I do. I got to figure out how they think. I've got to figure that part out. I figured out I need to be asking questions. I need to understand more about my people. And you've got to keep in mind that 8 out of 10 of your people walked in the door today with a sole goal to avoid you. Now, the engagements, this particular statistics comes from the Gallup organization, who studied this for well over a decade worldwide. And the statistics continue to show that over 80% of our employees actually are disengaged in the workplace, meaning that the only reason they're there is because they showed up to get a check. Now, I'll bet I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'll bet you're already struggling with that. So just know that these ideas I've given you today will help, but there's many more at our leadership education and development site called lead.managermojo.com. We'll even help you, if you go there, to take a survey that says, what kind of leader are you? And it'll tell you which course that we believe that you should start with. And I know it'll help you. And if you've got questions, by the way, I didn't say this earlier, but I want to say it now. If you're watching today and you've got questions, put them in the comments below. We'll do our best to get them on today. If not, if you've got questions that you don't really want to put in public, and I get that totally, you don't want to put it out there on Facebook, email me and I'll be glad to address them for you at that time. If you email me at steve@managermojo.com, I'll be glad to answer your email. So that's steve@managermojo.com. So if you've got something you don't really want to put out there in public, I get it, and we will make sure that we get that answer back to you. So I hope that'll help you as well. All right, so so far today, gosh, how long have we been here? It's been 40 plus minutes now already, and I'm willing to go a little bit longer with you today, but this is my first Facebook Live, and I hope that you're finding some of this information very valuable to you, and that you can begin to take it right back to work and you can begin to be successful today. I've got one other point that I'd like to talk with you for just a few minutes about. And this is an error that I see managers make all the time. I do a lot of training of management and leadership people. And I ask them, how often do you actually coach your team? And it's really interesting, because I'll have 8 to 9, sometimes 100% of the room, 80%, 90%, sometimes 100% of the room, that'll tell me that they are having regular coaching sessions with their people. And when I start asking specific questions, I said, okay, now are we talking about every person on your team? I said, tell me, who is your best performer? And they'll tell me a little bit about their best performer. I'll say, what makes them their best performer? And they'll tell me, well, they always hit their numbers. They require very little supervision. They do all of the things that they need to do. And I said, okay, when's the last time that you had a one-on-one coaching session with that person? And they look at me and they say, well, it's been probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks. You know, I mean, I really don't spend a lot of time with them, because they are doing everything that we ask them to do. And at that point, I realized that they're making the biggest management mistake that nearly every manager does, and what causes them to fail. And that is that they spend the majority of their time with people that are not performing. And they spend practically no time with those people that are performing. And this is counterintuitive to us in management and leadership positions, because we believe our job is to get everybody up to 100%, and it is. And so people will justify and say, well, I've got to spend more time with these people because they're not being successful. And what you're doing is that you're limiting your performance as a manager and leader. Because if you're really inspiring people and you're trying to get them to do more, then what you're going to find is that if you take your star performer and you spend some extra time working with them on their issues that would help them become a superstar performer, you'll find out that those people could actually overcome the non-performance of 2 or 3 of your non-performers today. Think about that for just a minute. Because the real secret to super performance is not getting everybody up to the minimum. That's the problem with most people that fail in management. They believe their entire job is to get everybody up to the minimum, that average. And that's not your job whatsoever. Your job is to provide superior performance and superior leadership. And that requires that you have to develop people into super performers. Does that mean that some of your people are going to be average? Yeah. But what you've got to do is make sure that you are spending the proper time to develop everybody to their maximum level of performance. And when you do that, great things begin to happen. Because you can't do that unless you're actually spending time with people and showing them that you care. So if you do that, I promise you, you're going to see a lot of extra success within your management and leadership career. All right. So that's all I wanted to talk about today on this Facebook Live. I hope it's been valuable to you. If you have questions, email me, steve@managermojo.com, or just put them in the comments section here. I would appreciate it if you would share this particular broadcast. If you've enjoyed it, if you found a couple of nuggets that you could take out, share it with other people. And let me know, give me some feedback so that if you enjoy this type of thing, we'll go into some deeper topics next time on management and leadership issues that are causing people to not be successful in their job. So if I'm going to check real quick and see if there are any questions that I need to be aware of right now. If there's not, we're just going to go ahead and call it a day today. And I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope you've had fun. I've had fun. It's been a really interesting experience to do Facebook Live. Go check out lead.managermojo.com. I promise you it's going to be the best thing you've ever done for your career. And I wish you nothing but continued success, and thank you for being a part of what we do here at Manager Mojo.